I've been receiving a bunch of questions and comments all around what happened a couple of days ago with Waves plugins. I don't know if you were living under a rock or got back from a trip from Mars for the last 48 hours, but you probably know by now that Waves have changed their entire business model. They now offer a subscription-based platform only. So to get Waves plugins from now on, it's exclusive to a subscription. And by reading all the comments on social media, on their YouTube videos, you know, people went nuts. They went crazy. Even on my own videos, I received comments, emails also about my thoughts on what was happening, about if I'm planning on supporting Waves in the future. Some even suggested I should remove my older videos talking about Waves plugins. So it went that far. So I can see why people are upset. I actually never seen that before since I'm on YouTube. So let me share my thoughts on this, and I'm gonna be brief, and I'm also gonna give you the best tip ever. And this is something I've been doing for a long time. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of subscription-based models when it comes to buying plugins or getting access to plugins. For me, like for my needs, it doesn't make any sense. I don't like to be slave to a subscription to work with plugins. But that doesn't mean this model is not a good idea or it's not useful for lots of people. I'm pretty sure it is. But to only offer this one option without the option on buying plugins separately, like we're used to, that I have a problem with. And the fact that people that already have the Waves plugins won't be able to upgrade them once a new version comes out, unless they jump on the all access plan. And this is why people are upset for the most part. And that is completely understandable. Now, I'm not gonna dive into what Waves offers with the plan. And you know, there's a bunch of videos out there that already covers that. You can go watch them. What I want to do is only to share my thoughts and to respond to the emails and comments I received so far on this channel. So like I said, I'm not crazy about this type of approach. I don't pay for a plugin access subscription on my end. I did that once years ago with Slate. I lasted a year and got out of it because it doesn't fit my needs. But we have to realize that companies, they can do whatever they want. They have the right to run their businesses the way they want to run them. And I'm fine with that. And customers out there are also free to like the offer or to reject the offer and complain. And the market will decide if they were right or wrong. That's the way it works. But on my end, I don't like to be slave to plugins. So that's why the best tip I can give someone is to focus more on increasing your skills, knowing the types of tools you work with without being slave to any plugins that you work with from any companies, not only Waves, any companies. I'll give you an example, and this is the way I actually work all the time. There's no plugins I work with that cannot be replaced. Okay, even if I don't have like a 100% equivalent, I'm gonna find my way around because I know how to mix music, because I know the basics, because I learned the craft of mixing, and that I focused more on increasing my skills as a mixer than being slave to the tools that I work with. So for example, I upgraded my system a few months ago. I got myself a Mac M1 laptop working in Silicon. I work with CUBASE. Load CUBASE in Silicon works perfectly. Most of the plugins I work with are compatible with the M1 technology and work well in Silicon while working in CUBASE, but some don't. And I invested in getting this type of computer to take advantage on all the processing it offers. And that means that I needed to just put aside some plugins that I worked with all the time because they were not supported in Silicon working in CUBASE. Like for example, I have a UAD satellite. Now the UAD satellite with all the UAD plugins, part of the satellite system, they do work in Silicon. However, they don't have VST3 versions of their plugins. So what happens is when you work in CUBASE, CUBASE will support Silicon, no problem, but with VST3 plugins when working in Silicon. And I didn't want to work in Rosetta mode. I want to take advantage of the computer I purchased and use the full processing when mixing in CUBASE. So I needed to put aside those UAD plugins. I only kept the plugins from UAD that I already purchased that are available using UAD Sparks. Okay, those I was able to transfer them over to be run natively in VST3 straight in CUBASE using Silicon mode. But the rest of those plugins that I actually purchased through the years, and trust me, they are expensive, I'm not able to use them anymore. for the time being, until they transfer them over to Sparks. And the same happened with other companies that do not have a VST3 version of their plugins. I had to replace them with something else. I always have an equivalent or something close to what I'm used to, so I can switch from one plugin to another in a nick of time. And same thing goes with my hardware. I have the Tegler Crème stereo bus compressor that I love to work with. It's on my stereo bus on all mixes. But when I mix outside of the studio using my laptop remotely, I'm not gonna bring this guy with me. I'm gonna use a plugin to replace it. I don't mind because I'm more focusing on the technique and the results I wanna get than the tool that I work with. And even if I know that the outcome might not be exactly the same, it will be close enough or a little different in a good way so I can move on with my mix. So I try not to be slave to any plugins, not even my hardware. And even, let's say, God forbid, that happens to CUBASE for some reason, even then I know my skills well enough to be able to work in any other DAW. So going back to Waves, the main Waves plugins that I work with, I own them. And I'm still planning on working with them for the time being because they are still supported by the system I work on. But at some point, they're gonna be outdated. And since I'm not gonna get a subscription, I won't be able to upgrade them. So at some point, they are probably gonna stop working on a more recent OS version, in some years from now. I don't know, maybe months. Who knows? And if that happens and I'm not able to upgrade them without a subscription, I'm just gonna stop using them and work with something else. It's so unfortunate, and I can definitely understand the frustration. And trust me, that can happen with any company, not only Waves. So focus on your skills, don't be slave to the tools you work with. Work with the tools to your advantage and not the other way around. And you want to increase your mixing skills? Mix music. The more you mix, the better you'll get. Increase your knowledge by watching, the videos on my channel. There's a bunch of CUBASE videos, a bunch of mixing techniques that I share on this channel 100% free, and also watch other creators that I trust, like Dumpsy Gallas, for example. And as far as Waves is concerned, maybe they will change their model after all and offer other options in the future. We'll see. And I hope they do, because I kind of like Waves plugins, to be honest with you. Now, for the ones asking me the question if I'm planning on talking about the next Waves plugins that are probably going to come out in the next weeks or months, I'm not. Okay, I usually do, but for the time being, I'm not. And the reason is very simple. I have a hard time just talking about a product that is only accessible through a membership that I'm not crazy about. So it's like promoting and talking about the whole system, then only that one plugin that I would make a video on. But if that changes in the future, I might reconsider. But for my older videos where I talk about Waves plugins, they are gonna stay on my channel. They are still helping people owning these plugins that I talked about in previous videos. So that's why I'm gonna leave them on the channel, and I have no problem with that. In the end, you're the one making the decision if this is a good option for you or not. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's a personal choice. So you have it. This is my take on it. Let me know what you think. Leave me your comments and questions down below. Take care and see you next time.